To the uninitiated, video games might seem as far away from art as, say, soup cans or urinals. But ask a game aficionado whether games qualify as art.
I think that it would be impossible to look at and play Myst and not say, this is not fine art. This is not a gorgeous space. This does not affect me, because it affects, I feel like I've been to those islands.
What the arcade is for video games, so the museum is for art, which is why we went to the San Francisco MoMA to ask artists, thinkers, and game experts about the connection between art and video games.
I don't know what the entire art world's take on video games would be as a legitimate art form. I think it's a generational interest. I would assume that you would find more young artists who might certainly look at them for the potential that they could have as an art form.
In the last 3 to 4 years, there have been lots of artists and also group shows devoted to computer games.
So the imagery of video games is making its way into the visuals of fine art, but what is it that's causing this crossover?
The barriers between what is art and what's design, what's popular culture, what's on television, what's out in the street as far as, graffiti, for instance. I think all of those kinds of mediums are really breaking down. And I think that has a lot to do with ideas about fine art and high art breaking down.
Another factor, I think, which contributes to this interest, right, in computer games becoming more of a kind of pop, but also high culture phenomena, is a growing importance of kind of youth culture in the 1990s. So, from skateboarding to dance music to computer games, youth culture very rapidly has entered into sort of, the realm of culture at large.
But you still can't walk into a museum for a little button mashing, unless, of course, you're at a special art and gaming event. So what's a game's need to step across that fine art threshold?
I think that we need to kind of get outside the box of trying to do super realistic graphics and reproducing reality down to the last detail, and instead look at all the alternate worlds that we can do on a computer that we really cannot experience anywhere else.
Once the narratives become different and modes of narration become different, visual styles become richer, then these future games, dash interactive narratives, dash whatever, would really become the true new art form of the 21st century.
So this would be Pong, roughly. A little bit later we start moving into Pac-Man, and then we start getting into like Doom, Myst, Half-Life. And this is, I think, about where we are now. Of course, now in the art world, this is back in the Renaissance. The art world kept going, of course, and this is where I would kind of like to think games might go in the future.
Ultimately, games are all about stimulating the mind, the emotions, or both. And if they happen to become art, then that's just an added bonus.
Clearly, we design games every day with the idea of how do we want the person to feel on this way. And many times we are able to absolutely control that, and sometimes we get totally unexpected and yet wonderful experiences.